Today we're diving into a really powerful story by the legendary Munshi Premchand. It's a tale about resilience, about the secrets we carry, and about how our past, well, it always finds a way to catch up with us.
So this whole story really boils down to one big question. What's the true source of human strength? Is it something you're just born with, or is it something you have to earn? We're about to meet a man who seems to have the answer, but it is not at all what you'd expect.
All right, so our story is all about this one guy, Saindayal. And to his best friend, who's the one telling us this story, he's a total enigma, a complete, unsolvable puzzle.
And this is where things get really interesting. This is the paradox of the man. On the one hand, you've got this totally ordinary, even flawed guy. But on the other, when life throws the absolute worst at him, he has this unshakable peace, like a saint. How can those two people exist in the same body?
And let's be super clear. This guy was no natural-born stoic. He made promises he almost never kept, he avoided hard work like the plague, and his principles were, let's just say, flexible. This was a man who basically needed someone breathing down his neck just to get anything done. He was, perfectly imperfect.
And it's this perfectly ordinary guy who is about to be put through the ringer. I mean, a series of trials so intense, a true baptism by fire that would absolutely break most people.
I mean, the hits just do not stop. It's one thing after another. First, his dad dies, leaving him with this little debt that just balloons out of control. Then a creditor sues him, and boom, he loses everything, the house, the savings, every single thing he owns. He and his family are literally homeless, living under a tree. And right when you think it can't possibly get any worse, he gets hit with a life-threatening illness. And then, the plague takes his only son.
So after all that, after losing absolutely everything, the narrator spots him. He's at a train station, working as a porter. His body is clearly failing, he's struggling. But his face, it's not filled with despair. No, it's glowing with this incredible courage and this weirdly calm resolve. It's like this was what he was always meant to be doing.
So of course, the narrator asks him what is going on. And every single time, Saindayal gives the same cryptic answer. This is the fruit of my actions. Now that phrase is all about karma, right? The idea that what you put out in the world comes back to you. But you have to wonder, what on earth could he have possibly done to deserve this?
And his body really starts to give out. I mean, he becomes a shell of a man, just a skeleton. He's the very picture of weakness, just wasting away. It's a miracle he's even standing.
But here's the part that's just impossible to wrap your head around. The narrator looks into his friend's eyes, and he doesn't see pain. He doesn't see sadness. All he sees is this deep sense of contentment and trust. The disconnect between his physical body and his spirit is just staggering.
And even after the absolute worst thing that can happen to a parent, the death of his only child, his reaction is the same. While his whole family is wailing in grief, he just calmly looks up at the sky and says it again. Yes, this is the fruit of my actions. The mystery just gets deeper and deeper.
Okay, so just when the narrator is convinced his friend is some kind of superhuman, something happens that just shatters that whole image. It changes everything.
Just remember, this is the guy who watched his own son die with this incredible calm, like he was immune to grief.
Well, a little while later, the narrator's own young daughter tragically passes away. And when Saindayal comes over to comfort his friend, he's the one who just falls apart. He breaks down, sobbing more hysterically for his friend's child than he ever did for his own. He's just completely overcome.
So why, right? That's the question. Why would a man who could handle so much pain himself just completely shatter over his friend's pain? This contradiction is the final straw. It pushes the narrator to finally demand an answer.
So one evening, they're sitting by a river, and the narrator just confronts him. He can't live with this mystery anymore. He has to know. He has to understand where this impossible, contradictory strength comes from.
He basically begs him, you have to tell me, what is the secret you've been hiding? How did you find this sage-like peace? He just needs to understand how his lazy, unreliable friend turned into this pillar of strength.
And that's when Saindayal finally confesses. He tells him that a long, long time ago, he did something terrible. He says, I defiled a sacred family trust. He corrupted someone pure and innocent, someone he describes as a newly blossomed bud. He says he planted a seed of sin and betrayal in that person's soul, a seed that could never be uprooted.
And he finishes with this: the sin I have committed
It's so great that no amount of punishment, no sorrow, no loss could ever be enough to atone for it. And just like that, all the pieces of the puzzle just click into place.
This one confession just changes everything. It completely reframes how we see Saindayal, his suffering, all of it.
So you see, his strength, it wasn't stoicism. He wasn't detached or emotionless. It was penance. He truly believed that every awful thing that happened to him was a payment he deserved for that past sin. He wasn't just enduring his suffering, he was welcoming it with a smile as his only path to atonement. And that's why his friend's loss broke him, because that was a pain he felt he hadn't earned. It wasn't part of his penance.
And in that moment, the narrator's whole view of his friend just flips. He doesn't see an ordinary, flawed man anymore. He sees a holy soul, someone whose journey to bear the weight of his own actions was this kind of beautiful, sacred thing. A man who was, in his own strange way, a blessing.
And that really leaves us with a huge question to think about, right? The story is asking us to look at our own lives. When things go wrong, when we face hardship, do we truly accept it as a consequence of our choices, as the fruit of our own actions? Or do we just fight it, kicking and screaming against a fate we feel we don't deserve? It's a lot to think about.